Everybody wants to get united. Like, what we gotta do is meet everybody on 149th Street at the bench.
Hey dudes, welcome back to the bench. Today I want to teach you guys all about a certain kind of straight letter that nobody ever talks about. It's a weird little thing that exists somewhere between throwies and straight letters. And that's what you're going to be learning about in today's video. We're going to go over the pros and cons of this, how exactly it works, and what exactly it is. So let's not waste any time, let's hop right into this with what exactly is this thing. Well, to be clear, it is definitively a straight letter. There is no debate about that. But what makes it exist in this weird gray area is the fact that these straight letters are very adaptable in their size and they're very quick and easy to do, which allows the user to use these in the same manner that you would use a throwie. And usually straight letters such as these are comprised of only the necessary lines and letter structures needed to create the actual letter itself. That really plays a key role in allowing the graffiti artist to use this like a throwie. In fact, if we were to take somebody with a slightly stylized throwie and have them do their throwie at the same time as somebody using one of these straight letters, it might be the case that the person using the straight letter could actually finish before the person using the throwie. Now keep in mind, part of the name of the game with these things is how fast you're able to put them up, and for that reason, we're not talking about rollers here. We're not talking about those real blocky letters, right? Now the interesting part about this though is that a lot of writers who use these tend to completely replace their throwie with something like this instead. Normally, the people who use these gravitate to straight letters and they don't gravitate to throwies. So what you'll notice is when you have a graffiti artist of this kind, when they do a proper straight letter, a straight letter that they're not going to use in place of their throwie, that kind of straight letter tends to be a little bit more detailed. It tends to still be a straight letter, keep that in mind, but it tends to be a little bit more flashy than the straight letter they use for bombing. Now what's great about these is you can leave them hollow and it'll look perfectly okay, or you can decide to fill them in, which means they work great for different kinds of fill-ins. You can throw interior details if you want to, you can do one color fill, it doesn't matter. They're very, very versatile in that way. But understand something, there's a few caveats to this. You see, because these are straight letters, they have an emphasis on their basic boxes, which means if you're not really experienced, you're very prone to messing these up. One mess up can disalign your basic boxes and make the whole thing look very sloppy. To be able to pull this off, especially a hollow where you can't cover your mistakes with your fill-in, you have to be extremely experienced, not only in graffiti's fundamentals, but your technique as well. That way you ensure a nice, clean, hollow outline for this kind of straight letter that represents the basic boxes connecting in a proper way. However, if you're sloppy, if you're inexperienced, and if you've never bothered to actually learn the fundamentals, then your mistakes are going to be emphasized. They're going to be put out there and magnified when you do this kind of straight letter. For that reason, you don't want to delve into these types of straight letters as an excuse for not learning throwies. A lot of times you'll see a lot of newer graffiti artists, they'll decide, you know what, I don't really feel like learning throwies. Throwies are kind of hard. I'm gonna go to these kinds of straight letters instead. And this is the trap they fall into. They end up with very sloppy straight letters. They don't really understand what a straight letter is to begin with, and they certainly don't understand any of graffiti's fundamentals to represent those fundamentals properly, and they butcher the entire thing. And ironically enough, this is where throwies kind of allow for some leeway. You can have a newer graffiti artist with a pretty decent throwie, and they can mess up letter structures here and there, but because throwies don't emphasize their basic boxes nearly as much as straight letters do, they can get away with some of those mess ups. But straight letters, they don't allow for that. So if you're a new graffiti artist, you really want to take the time to learn each and every different form of graffiti. That's your basic hand styles, your throwies, and your pieces. Because each one of these three categories has lessons that are going to help you learn the other categories. If you decide to skip any one of these steps, then you're robbing yourself of certain lessons that would aid in your development for those other forms of graffiti. And because these kinds of straight letters are used to replace a writer's throwie, you'll oftentimes see the same exact straight letter over and over again with no change in design at all whatsoever. And that's to be expected. This is a good thing because remember, the whole point about getting up is for your name to be iconic. It's for your name to catch people's eyes at a glimpse and they know exactly who did it. So the same thing applies when you use a straight letter in this manner. When you use a straight letter in this manner, when you use it as a throwie and you've gotten up and you've established this name along with this style, then people recognize it and you keep it as one design as a result of that. This is why you don't see legends change their hand styles or throwies, and it's the same exact reason why you don't see these kinds of straight letters being changed either. Now keep in mind, this is not applicable to all straight letters. This is not something that's not some kind of blanket statement for every kind of straight letter out there. Some people do genuine straight letters and they just never change them because they're not capable of it or because whatever reason they might have. We're not talking about that. We're talking about about these. And that's important to keep in mind because that's the name of the game of graffiti in general. It's to get up, become recognized, and part of that recognition is developing an iconic look that people can see at a glance and know exactly who it is. Now keep in mind, because these kinds of straight letters are being used to replace a writer's throwie, we usually only ever see writers use straight letters in this way. We usually don't see legal-only graffiti artists ever use a straight letter in this way because they don't get up. They don't have to have a straight letter that is geared around quick application because they're only hitting legal walls. There's no utility for that for them, right? They wouldn't have any use for it. So if you think you're the kind of writer that might end up using these, just be sure to try out Throwies first. Make sure you give a genuine effort to learn those. That way you might pick up on some of the lessons that Throwies do teach. But let me know what you guys think about it in the comments down below, and check it out. If you want more information about how to do graffiti, check out the books we published in the description down below. And we also have the best how to do graffiti playlist right up here with more graffiti content right down here. And I'll catch you guys back here next week. Thanks for watching.